What's up, guys? Welcome to Knockers on the Bottom. I'm your host, Jay Mill. Jay Miller, if you like. So let's get into it. I did my breakdowns, offense and defense this week. I just wanted to touch on a few things before the game today. One, it looks like Ezekiel Elliott is suspended. So thankfully, he cursed himself enough that the Cowboys can finally play a game without having to worry about getting Zeke any touches. Looks like he was late to some meetings multiple times this week. Cowboys finally said enough is enough and suspended him for this game. This is one of those times where I really hope the combination of Dalvin Cook and Rico Dowdle, Fast Money Rico, does good enough that the Cowboys are like, you know what? It's not even worth having Zeke active for the rest of the season. I always thought that he shouldn't have been on the active roster anyway. And now we finally get a game that Zeke is inactive. Thank goodness. So let's just hope that this continues. The things that you miss about Ezekiel Elliott, because you don't miss anything in the run game. The only thing that you would miss from him is his pass protection, his ability to diagnose, his ability to step up, make some good, square hits in the pocket, keep that clean. But honestly, the offense hasn't been that awesome anyway with him there. So who cares, right? Rico Dotto is a decent pass protector. Hunter Lipke is a very good pass protector, so you can kind of mitigate some of those losses using that. And there's nothing that Ezekiel Elliott brings you in the actual running game that you're going to miss. I believe Hunter Lipke can get you short yardage. Rico Dowdle is more explosive. Dalvin Cook can provide. If you want exactly what Ezekiel Elliott gave you in a running game, throw Dalvin Cook in there. You're good to go. So that's awesome. So I want to move on to maybe some predictions. So I do think that the Dallas Cowboys offense will have their highest point total since the Browns game. So that would be, they scored 25 against the Ravens. They scored 24 against the San Francisco 49ers. So I believe they'll have 26 or more points again today. Not again, because they haven't been doing that often. But they will have 26 or more points today. So that's one of my predictions for the game. The other one is that CeeDee Lamb will continue. He will have very similar production to last week. Last week he had 13 catches, well over 100 yards, and a couple touchdowns. You can expect that again. So if you're building your daily fantasy lineups today, or you have Ezekiel Elliott in fantasy football, just because the Cowboys are a bad team, don't worry, they're going to throw the ball a lot. So I expect that to happen. I also do expect Dak Prescott to have another interception. That will happen today. I don't know if it'll be detrimental enough for, to be in the fourth quarter when the game's on the line or something like that, but just count your chickens. He will throw another interception today. So also keep that in mind when you're going against daily fantasy. Now, I do think it'll be outweighed by him actually having a decent passing day. I do see Dak Prescott having one of those 300-yard games, having one of those multiple touchdown games, but it also could be a multiple interception game. But it might be enough that he's worth starting in daily fantasy because, as I told you, Dak does really good against mediocre defenses, and this defense is definitely mediocre. Now on to what I think will happen on the defensive side of the ball. I think the Cowboys are going to have tons of trouble with Bijan Robinson. I think he's going to beast the hell out of the Cowboys today. I actually think the alternative change of pace back plays more into the Cowboys' hands, Algieri, but he's still going to be great around the goal line. So if Bijan gets them down there and doesn't score a touchdown, or Kirk Cousins passes them down there and they have to try to run it inside the 5-yard line, that's where Algieri can make his fantasy impact. And be able to score some touchdowns on the ground, also in short yardage, because the Cowboys can't stop a nosebleed right now in the run game. But as far as having trouble with big chunk yardage, that's going to come from Bijan because he likes to get on the edge. He likes to catch screens. He likes to run to the outside, and he has that amazing speed that it's just tough for the Cowboys to deal with right now, especially since they refuse to change their scheme. And they're still going to leave their corners out on the outside, on the islands to tackle. They have slow safeties, so if Bijan breaks that, you could see Bijan having some 40, 50, 60-yard runs before somebody gets him to the ground. And I do expect to see at least one of those today. Mark your words. So if Bijan Robinson is in your fantasy lineup, that's a good start today. I also expect Drake London to have a fairly good game. Trayvon Diggs is dealing with a torn calf. I feel like this will be one of those games where he doesn't necessarily play the entire game. He may come in and be in specific down and distance situations. They might try to throw him out there for the full workload, and then a few plays in, he feels it a little bit and he sits back down. So this is going to be one of those days where I feel like the offenses are going to be going up and down. Don't expect much in the way of defense. The Atlanta Falcons don't sack the quarterback. The Cowboys are missing all their pass rushers, so they essentially don't sack the quarterback either. If you had to take one of these two defensive lines to get a sack, even at the depleted talent that the Cowboys have, I still think the Cowboys would actually be more likely to get a sack just because of Zimmer and his exotic looks, his blitzes, and they still have players who can pressure like Overshown. Golston's actually been a revelation playing in place of some of the other defensive ends that have been hurt. So you got those two guys that you can scheme up pressure with, but maybe even some with Maris Leafau as well. But this would be a nice day to see Osa Odighizuwa show up with some interior pressure and some sacks. But the strength of the Falcons' offensive line is actually their interior, so I don't see that happening that much. All right, so now let's get to the picks. So I already let you know I expect the Cowboys to score some points. I definitely expect the Falcons to score some points. But the Cowboys, even though they are 3-1 on the road this year, yeah, you heard that right. Our 3-4 Cowboys are actually 3-1 on the road. If they played all their games on the road, let's see how that would have been. And they're 0-3 at home. So I do expect them to be more competitive, being that they're playing on the road. I mean, San Francisco 30-24, and the Cowboys led at halftime. They beat the Cleveland Browns pretty handily. They beat the Giants. They beat the Steelers. Even though the Steelers are a good team, but I'm just saying, like, they were in a dogfight in both of those games. So I do expect this to be more competitive, but I do think the Cowboys lose their third straight game of the season, somewhere in the neighborhood of 37-31. Falcons win. If you're a betting person and you're listening to this, I would definitely. I don't know what the over is, but 68 points is a lot, and I can't imagine the over-under on this game being, any more than 46, 48 and a half, maybe even 50 and a half if they're feeling frisky. But even at 50 and a half, I would still take the over in this game. These two defenses are, and I think it's going to show up today. And I think these offenses are going to have a field day. I think, like I said, Dak's going to turn it over. Now, there is a scenario where this is a little bit different. If Brandon Aubrey is, being the star of the day, which we've seen one too many times this season, then this could be a little bit more lopsided of a blowout, something like 41-26. With a lot of Aubrey's field goals coming early and a lot of the touchdowns coming late when the Cowboys are already down, 41-13 or something, or 41-12, and they have to score some touchdowns to get back into the game, and boom, they put two quick touchdowns up on the board, and now it's 41-26, and the game is over because they ran out of time. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you like the show so you know when I'm coming on. You can follow me on Twitter at JMillerIYL. That's JMiller if you like. You can also hit me up via email, knockersonthebottom@outlook.com. Again, knockersonthebottom@outlook.com. I'll take them here. I'll take them there. You can leave comments below. Anything you want me to cover, any questions you might have. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I love you so much. Until next time, I'm your host, J Miller if you like. This has been Knockers on the Bottom. Peace.